Hello. This video will provide you with an overview on how to publish annotations to QuickScribe. The first part of the video will really focus in on the fundamentals, on the basic steps required to publish annotations, and the second part of the video will focus in on some of the more advanced features that you might find useful. A few housekeeping items that I should probably review before showing you how to publish these annotations. Most of you by now will have created username and password and know how to log into the system. For the most part, you go to quickscribe.bc.ca, click the login, and enter your authentication credentials. Some of you, especially those who work in the larger firms, through your office will automatically access QuickScribe through an IP authentication, which basically means when you click the login, it recognizes you as a client, logs you in automatically without a username and password. If that's the case for you, when you log in, the screen's going to look like this. And at that point, you can either create a personalized account, a username and password if you have not done so already. Once you do that, you can then at any time click the personal login on the top right corner, and there on this screen is where you'd want to enter your username and password to unlock the annotation features. Once you do log in, you'll notice that you're logged in at the top with your account information readily available and visible on the top right corner. So for the most part, you're going to want to search and find the bill or the law that you want to annotate. And the first step would be to use the title search on the top and start entering the title of the bill or the law, the regulation that you want to annotate. In this case, I'm going to start typing in Family Law Act. A list will build, and in this case I see it 3 down. I'll just select the Family Law Act. Anywhere you see these little pencil icons is where you can make an annotation. In this case, the pencil icon is adjacent to the title, so it would make sense that the annotation that I make in reference to the title would be in general reference to the law itself. If I want to make a reference to a specific section within the law, I simply go to the section. I've clicked on to section 2 here, and you'll note there are pencil icons that will allow you to annotate at the section level, subsection level, and even further down below. When you click on a pencil icon to create your annotation, you're going to see the Add Annotation function here. But let me go in and add an annotation in here. You are going to be assigned expert annotation privileges, which means the default is always set to create a QuickScribe community annotation, publishing them out to the outside world. So just be aware of that. If you want to create a private annotation, you would have to change it to private. Or if you want to make an annotation so that others in your firm are able to view it, you make it an organizational annotation. The first time you click any of these references, there's probably going to be a little note down at the bottom stating this is the first time you're making a private annotation, and you have to just select a little button that shows up and says I understand. It's just a little disclaimer. But again, for the most part, your default is going to assume that you want to publish this out to the QuickScribe users. So in this text box is where you want to copy or you want to type in your annotation. I can either create the links if you have a link to a reference to a white paper, to a case. If you're not feeling comfortable about doing so, I can do it for you. But as you'll see, the process is quite straightforward. Within this text section, you can't hyperlink, but you can hyperlink with using these tools down below. So for example, let's say you want to reference a case in your annotation. Down below, you have the option to add a link. So if I click the Add a Link, you can either add a link to another section in QuickScribe or a web address. So for example, let's say I want to make a reference to a case. This is the title of the link that you're creating, and you can make the title whatever you'd like. In this case, let's say BC Supreme Court, let's say 2016, BC Supreme Court, number 41, Jones versus Jones. That's the title. Where are you grabbing this reference from? It's from a website. As a convenience, we provide you with a little link here to the Courts of British Columbia where you can find the particular judgment. I'm just going to copy this URL, even though it's not an actual case that I'm referencing. And I'll copy it into this section. Copy and paste. That's the link. if this is in reference to a case, because you can really link to anywhere you like on the web, then identify it as such, saying this is a link to a case, and that will help identify it as such to our clients. Okay, so I'm going to click Submit. I've copied it and pasted a reference to a case that I've mentioned in my annotation. I can do this multiple times. I can reference multiple cases. So I can do the same process and add another case, or in this case, let's say I want to make a reference to another law. So a link to a section or law in QuickScribe. So I'm providing another convenient link that's going to accompany my annotation so that the user will be able to jump to that. So in this case, the title, again, maybe I'm going to section 5 of the Forest Act. And the next step below is, what am I linking to? I'm linking, what kind of a law am I linking to in QuickScribe? In this case, it's not a bill, it's an act that I'm referencing. Type in the name of the act. In this case, the Forest Act. It'll start to build the list. Just select from the list. And then I'm referencing a section 5. You can just leave it at the Forest Act, and that's fine. It will link you to the Forest Act. But in this case, I'll just go to section 5. One interesting thing that we've done is that we assume that when you're creating a link to section 5 of the Forest Act in reference within your annotation, that you might want to be notified when section 5 is amended. And that way you can go in and adjust your annotation. If there's an amendment that subsequently repeals section 5, maybe it'd be nice to get notified, and then you can update that information, and it'll ensure the integrity of these links over time. So I'm going to submit this. Again, I have not published anything yet, okay? I have not published anything to the outside world. I'm just adding multiple links. This is the post button that will make this go live. So I can add multiple links. I can even upload documents. So let's say there's a white paper or some sort of a file that you can't find online, but you'd like to upload it to the site. Again, the title, maybe it's a white paper concerning forestry law, and I click the browse button and basically open my computer and upload the file. And again, it has to be in a PDF, and it has to be less than 2 megabytes. If it's larger than that, let me know, and we've got a way to upload it behind the scenes. And I click submit. Again, I haven't uploaded a file there, so that's why it's giving me the error message. So I've created some annotation information here. I've uploaded a couple links. I've noticed that I'm publishing this out to the QuickScribe community. This is a live site. I don't want to do that. I want to, for this example, create a private annotation so this does not go live, because you can switch this over. And I'm going to click Post. And again, it's overlapping that section, that little pencil icon. It's showing you the section that I've annotated. We've really tried to distinguish the different types of annotations that can be published to a particular section. In this case, I've designated myself as an expert. That's why it's showing up as expert and a private one. I have not published this out to the outside world. It's a private one, so only I can view it, whereas yours would have been, if you selected the community one, to publish out to the outside community. Now, every annotation that you publish will have your biography with links to your site. You'll have it date when it was posted, the information, and the convenient links. You can edit and delete these at any time. If I go in and make an edit, it opens that section up, and just be careful, because it's now, again, I set it up as a private. It's assuming every time I go into these things that it wants me to, you want to publish it to the outside world, which is fine for your annotations. I'm just saying if you're making a private annotation that you don't want to share, then make sure you've clicked onto that private button. But the reason why I'm showing you the edit button is that, let's say I go in and make a change, and I say, okay, that's the change I wanted, or I add a link, and I update this, you're going to see last edited. And the reason why that I want to point that out is I can go in, if you've published some annotations the first time and you've made a few mistakes, or you want to change something, I'll go in and manually remove that so it doesn't show up on the public sites. But where it is important, let's say you've made an annotation and then you've decided maybe 6 months to go in and later and update it, or in reference to an amendment, it will show others that you've been active and actually gone in and maybe updated the annotation. So that's the reason why we have that information there. If I close this out here, this little X button, Anytime you now or anybody else goes to these sections, if you have created an annotation, you will be able to view it. Because this was private, it's only visible to me. But here's some of our expert annotator contributors have gone in previously, and you can see they're identified on the star icon here. So there actually have been some annotations, and by clicking this pencil icon, I can view and participate. So this is where you can actually go in and view the annotations. And again, this is one of our contributors who's published an annotation. Individuals, including yourself, can be followed. So because I'm logged into the system, the computer knows who I am, and by following some of our contributors, you will receive, or they will receive, notification when you or one of our experts publish an annotation anywhere on the QuickScribe site. Okay? People can share this as well. So it's a way for people to follow you and keep up to date whenever you publish any annotations on the QuickScribe site. So let me close out of this again. So again, the steps are to simply click the pencil icon, add an annotation. You can add an annotation from the table of contents, which would be in general reference to the general law. You can do it on an act. You can do it on a regulation. There are bills on the left-hand side. The bills, if let's say there's a new bill that's going to be impacting a particular practice area, and you want to make some comments on that, you would basically go to the session. You would find the bill. You can do a title search as well if you know the title of the law. But the reason why I wanted to take you to the bill section is because if you do want to make a reference to a bill, you can only do it in a general sense. You can't go into a particular section. So you can make just a general comment annotation on this particular bill as a whole. Okay, so just be aware of that the bills are handled a little differently and that you can't go in and annotate a particular section. So let me just go down again here. I'm just going to go back to the Family Law Act. I found the Family Law Act through the search. I've created a private annotation. In your case, you'll probably want to be publishing some expert annotations. Let's say you've gone in and you've created a few annotations, and you want to manage this information. You want to delete them. You want to view what you've annotated thus far. Maybe you've come back after 6 months of doing a couple annotations. So at the very top, you're going to see My Account. So aside from publishing annotations, managing is the second most important thing for you to remember. And My Account is where you manage your information, and all the annotations by the default tab will show up on here, and you can go in and edit and delete these as you see fit. In this case, I'm just going to go delete this last annotation that I created. Yes, delete. So that's where you would go and find all the annotations that you've published to date and how you manage all this information. Now that you have a better handle on how to publish annotations, the second part of this video will focus in on other related elements, such as where exactly do your annotations go once you publish them? How can people find them? How can people search them? And can people follow you so that they're notified whenever you publish annotations on the QuickScribe database? You'll learn how to track changes to key laws that you're responsible for. Let's start with where do your annotations go when you publish them. In addition to viewing the annotations from the section level, when you're in a law, you can go to the top menu bar and click View Annotations. This will display all annotations published throughout a particular act, with all of the recent annotations coming up to the top. You can also distinguish the different types of annotations that have been published throughout by clicking on the appropriate tab on the top menu. At any time, users can follow other individuals such that they'll get notified whenever these individuals publish an annotation. In fact, you can actually go to any law and click the Follow Annotations button at the very top. And this will allow you to receive notification when any other individual publishes annotations anywhere in the law. A lot of my clients use this because they're not necessarily familiar with my contributors, but they're interested in some particular law, and they want to receive notification when any of my expert annotators contributes annotations anywhere within the law. So they'll get an email stating that you've notified a section, and they'll log in and they'll view that annotation. It's another way for them to track information relating to the laws that matter most to them. So again, these features are available on the top menu bar when you're in any law. On the left-hand side of your screen, we have the main annotations page. The main annotations page is ideal for viewing, browsing, and searching all annotations that have been published throughout the QuickScribe database. For example, I can quickly click on to the QuickScribe Expert tab to view all of the most recent annotations that have been published to the site. I can also use a keyword searching for typing in the name of the individual. In this case, I'll search for Mason, and this will come up with all of Margaret Mason's annotations that have been published throughout the site. I can also do a keyword search on the specific cases or any of the text within the annotation window itself. Remember, your expert annotations are not only published within the QuickScribe site itself, but also on our public sites. The public sites will have your dedicated profile page with your biography and recent annotations. The most recent annotations by my contributors are prominently featured on the main homepage when you first log in under the Recent Annotations tab. Finally, we make an effort to promote these annotations in our monthly QuickScribe Reporter that goes out to thousands of professionals throughout BC each month. In this last part of the video, I'll show you how to set up custom alerts so that you can have us track upcoming and recent amendments to the laws that matter most to your practice area or the laws that you're responsible for tracking on QuickScribe. Go to the Alerts section on the top menu bar and you'll see a number of different types of alerts that we have within QuickScribe. The BC Legislative Digest is the tool that I'd recommend for tracking select laws. Simply click onto the Sign Up button, type in your name, email address, and the subject header is what's going to come through on the email when you receive notification of a change. So depending on what you're tracking, you'd want to make the subject header reflect the legislation amendments that you're tracking. So for example, in this case, I'll just say Adoption Act changes. You can track changes to a number of different laws or bills. In this case, I'll just track one particular law. You have the option of receiving notification of changes to all laws, certain categories of laws, or in this case I would recommend selecting I would like to receive notification for specific laws, specific bills and acts and regulations. You can either receive this notification on a weekly basis, which means you'll receive one every week regardless of whether or not there's a change for the law that you're tracking. In this case, I would recommend select the daily option, especially if you're tracking only a handful of laws. And that way you'll receive a notification the same day there's an amendment that we publish to the law that you're tracking. The step 2 will be the selection process. So from this list, the acts are in blue, regulations are tucked underneath each act. You could track bills, regulations. I'm going to select the blue Adoption Act by double-clicking. I can select some regulations. If I don't want those regulations included in this tracking, I can double-click them on the right-hand side and they'll disappear. Then step 3 is basically asking you whether or not you want to receive notification when there are proposed changes to the act or just receive notification when they come into law. So for example, in this case, if I want to track proposed changes to the Adoption Act and there's a new bill that's introduced as first reading and it proposes a change, probably within 24 hours I'm going to receive an alert from QuickScribe stating that there's a new bill introduced. It proposes a change to the Adoption Act with a link to the section of the bill so I can actually view what that change is. Other individuals will want to receive notification each step of the way that that bill makes its way into law. My suggestion is maybe start off with a first reading bill so you get that first notice, and then when that bill reaches royal assent, you'll know that that amendment will in fact come into law either at the royal assent stage or at some point in the future. The second set of options here is basically telling you that you can receive notification when the sections come into law, when they're published on our website. And then proceed to step 4. And this is basically your summary. At any time you can unsubscribe or manage your alerts. If you click the My Alerts, you can go in and manage your alerts from this page as well. One final alert tool that I'll draw your attention to is the section tracking. The section tracking will allow you to go to any section of any law, select the little tracking icon adjacent to the section you're interested in. It will show up as blue once you select it, and moving forward, we'll track that section, and if there are any new amendments that come into force, we'll send you an email explaining what that change was. These tracking tools are especially effective for tracking federal legislation or specific sections of provincial legislation that you are particularly interested in monitoring. Finally, if you have some time, I'd encourage you to have a look at the Help menu, which includes a number of YouTube video tutorials that I've put together covering a variety of different features on the site. There's even a 10-minute overview which covers the basic navigation and searching on QuickScribe. If you have any questions concerning publishing an annotation or any of the tracking services or any features on QuickScribe, give me a call and I'll be happy to help. Thank you.